Hello everyone. For a change, I'm not having the camera attached to the telescope. We're just going to have a look at the night sky as it's getting darker. So I'm looking south here, southwest where the sun has just set. Maybe you can see a few mountains in the distance there. My herd hanging out here. But what we're looking at back here, and the title of the broadcast is The Belt of Venus. And what we're seeing is the shadow of the Earth on its own atmosphere. So this shadow has two parts to it. It's got a pink upper margin and a steel gray lower section. So the sun is set directly behind me as I point in this direction. And that means as the sun drops below the horizon, what we're looking at is the shadow of the Earth on the atmosphere. Imagine if you're flying in a plane up in the upper part of this image where it's light blue, you're in full sunlight. You drop your hypothetical plane down into the pink and you look back towards the southwest and you see sunset colors. So that's what's reflecting off the atmosphere there. And then below that, if you drop your plane and fly in the area where it's gray, you see pretty much darkness. So that is the night. And as the sun continues to drop below me, below the horizon behind me, we will see that gray band climb upwards. The pink will fade at some point. And so that just means that night doesn't fall, it rises. The background noise is this big horse here. Her name is Bliss. She is a gypsy vanner. That's Sophie, quarter horse Arab cross. Wallace back there. He's a Frisian. And off in the distance here, kind of a bit smaller, but not that obvious in this shot, is our Welsh pony, Lola. I tried to say that in a dark brown voice, if you know what I mean, hearkening back to the song. So there's the Belt of Venus and cameo by Wallace. I'm going to have to raise up. Wallace is very friendly. I'm sure he was a lap dog in another life. I'm just going to use him as a tripod here to kind of rest my arms on while we're looking at the Belt of Venus in the background. That is that gray band, the shadow of the Earth on the atmosphere, and the pink upper margin. Here's Wallace. So that's looking north. We are currently looking over towards the northeast and then straight east and then south. And there's Wallace again, crowding the scene. And that's where the sun set, back over that way to the southwest. All right. So we're looking at Sophie and Bliss and the Belt of Venus in the background. As I mentioned, night doesn't fall, it climbs. That shadow is going to climb up into the off above the horizon and basically take over the whole sky, and that's what we call night. Yes, hello Wallace. There he is. He's magnificent. These Frisians, they have a stance that's just incredible. They're just so majestic. Yeah. Getting a little bit of color in the sunset sky down to the south. Back onto the belt of Venus and the back end of Bliss. Sorry, we'll do that for the moment. Put the focus where it's needed, which is on the sky, which is why I'm broadcasting. We're watching the climb of the night, the shadow of the Earth on its own atmosphere as the sun is setting behind me. This gray band with the pink top margin is climbing upwards. And as I've mentioned a couple of times already, night doesn't fall, it rises. You can see this whole sweep of this. Now, because the sun is so far south in the sky, when it sets in the southwest. The main part of the belt of Venus is actually now in the northeast. In the summertime, when the sun is setting fairly far in the northwest part of our horizon, the belt of Venus would actually be most apparent back in this part of the sky here in the southeast. But right now it's not that obvious. We're just on the margin there. So there's a pretty good shot of the belt of Venus. That pink color's still there. Maybe a little less so to the naked eye. I think the camera's doing a better job of picking up that color. But it'll fade at some point. So I'm broadcasting from northern Vulcan County, back over towards the sunset position. We've got some nice pink wispy cirrus clouds up there for our sunset. This direction over here is where the city of Calgary is. It's essentially on the horizon from this location, as when I'm in the office and I'm looking out to this area, I'm essentially on the horizon as seen from my office. Got some color there in the sunset. Let's go revisit the view of the belt of Venus. It's climbing upwards. It's a slow process. It's not super spectacular, but I do encourage you, what is the temperature here? My hands are getting pretty cold. I think we're still above zero, but I'm not fully dressed for being out here that long. So we did have a lovely day. I think it hit 9 degrees here, Celsius. Um, it being cool is partly because it's clear. And when we are out at night as amateur astronomers and we're looking at the night sky, we are actually exchanging heat with the universe, which is barely above absolute zero. So even if it's above freezing, we can get frost on our telescope equipment because it's directly exchanging heat with the universe. When we have a cloud cover, that infrared heat exchange is dampened and we don't lose as much heat at night. So we're looking at the belt of Venus, a couple of horses there, hearing some geese in the background. I'm not sure if they're going to be close enough to pick up. There's that little gray smudge above the horizon, passing just above where the sun set. Is there a forest in the question? No, I'm out in the grasslands here. So it's all farm crops. Some beautiful Alberta nature. There is a bit of a group of trees. It's not that obvious, but I'm on the edge of the Bow River Valley. So there are some trees down there where the river is. And I think that's probably where the geese are going to be heading for the night. All right, let's pan back to the belt of Venus. It's noticeably growing taller. The gray band is quite a bit taller than it was when we started the broadcast. And if you come back and do a replay of this video, you'll be able to fast forward and back and make that comparison yourself. How many degrees now? I think we're probably +3, +4, roughly. I didn't really check, but it's about that kind of temperature. I don't see my breath, which is usually a good sign. That's Tucker in the foreground there, that black dog. We're starting to lose that pink top to the belt of Venus. It's not super obvious anymore. And that's what happens when the belt of Venus grows taller. We start losing those colors. And as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, if you were in a plane flying, say, at the top of this field of view in the light blue, you could look back and be in full sunlight and you'd see the sun. If your plane is flying in the pink area, then you'd look back towards where the sun would be and you'd see sunset colors because the sun's just dropped below the horizon. And then if you're in the gray band, that's when, if you're looking out your hypothetical plane back towards the sun, you would see that we're in the night side of the planet. So that's kind of night right there. There goes Sophie. And there's Bliss has marched her way down the ditch here. Still got some beautiful colors off to the south and in the higher sky. Sorry about the power line. It's just the way things go sometimes. So we're looking here. That's Lola, the Welsh pony. And I'm going to finish off this broadcast with another view of the belt of Venus. And I'm not sure you can see, there's a little diagonal gray stripe there. That's a shadow cast by a cloud that's probably just over the horizon near where the sun is. And that darker shadow across the sky is called a crepuscular ray. And I'm just panning across. It diverges. If you get more than one, here comes Wallace again. If you get more than one, they will diverge from where the sun is, but reconverge because of perspective back over at the anti-solar point. Some people refer to that as seeing anti-crepuscular rays. I'm not a fan of that term because crepuscular means dusk. But you can see that grayish, darker streak. That's a shadow from some cloud that's over my horizon now, but it's still apparent enough that we can see that shadow come across to the anti-solar point right here. Wallace, please. I'm in the middle of a show. And that's pretty much the end of the broadcast. We can barely detect the pink anymore at the top margin of the belt of Venus. And I thank you all for popping by and having a listen and a look. And with that, I think I'm going to finish off this broadcast. So we're going to use the black screen of a black horse to finish off our broadcast. Yes, and have the power of politics and have the kids bugging you. Absolutely. Oh, gosh. Yes. Well, luckily it's only Wallace. The other ones are more interested in eating, but I'll just pan back to give you this profile of Wallace one last time, and we'll close out the broadcast with that. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Appreciate it. Bye now.